It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Electrify America. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com. Electric cars may seem a little different, but new technology always seems weird at first. Even podcasts seemed weird when they first came out in the early 2000s, and now everyone listens to them. You're listening to one right now, and just like podcasts, electric cars are normal now. They have longer ranges, faster charging times, and now multiple models to choose from like sedans, SUVs, and even motorcycles, so you can find one that fits your life. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com.
This is the Locked On Auburn podcast, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, presented by Fetch Me Delivery. Use promo code FetchMe20 for your first delivery free. Use the free Fetch Me Delivery app or go online to FetchMeDelivery.com. They can get your family meal delivered in 40 minutes or less. They also can get you dry cleaning. They can go grocery shopping for you. They can do just about anything. So be sure to go to FetchMeDelivery.com or use the free Fetch Me app and use the promo code FetchMe20 for your first delivery free. I'm Zach Blackerby, joined by Josh Vitale of the Montgomery Advertiser. Josh, how are you?
Doing great, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think I'm doing it better than a lot of Auburn fans listening to this today.
I would think so. This was a rough weekend.
Yeah, it was a rough one for them. Mm-hmm. I just want to say before we get going into it, guess what my pick was on Friday? I nailed it.
Did you say Georgia 21, Auburn 14?
Yep.
Wow.
How about that?
I had Auburn 24, Georgia 20. See, I did not think Auburn's offense would take 3 quarters to score a touchdown. I did not think that would happen.
Well, and then going into the fourth quarter, I did not expect them to put together 2 quick drives. I mean, those 2 drives looked incredible.
Yeah.
It's just like and Georgia switched to zone, which was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, was that all of it? I think it's a big part of it.
That's part of it. I think Auburn did execute better. Bo Nix looked really good on those drives.
Yeah.
People quickly pointed out, until that throw to Harold Joyner, which
that was bad.
That was a bad throw. And Bo Nix said after the game, I know he got a hand on it. That's on me. There's no excuse for that. I have to hit him with that pass. So it's not like anyone's shying away from that was a bad pass. But Bo Nix, Auburn's not in that position if Bo Nix doesn't play well in those 2 drives. It's really the thing that will kill fans about this season is that, Gus Malzahn's been so good at bye weeks. Mm-hmm. He had 2 weeks for Georgia, and he got shut out through 3 quarters for the first time in his Auburn career. Auburn has played the 3 toughest games in its schedule and has scored now 13, 20, and 14 points. The defense held all 3 of those games, 24 or fewer points, and Auburn has lost all 3 of those games. I blame absolutely no one for being frustrated right now.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, and it's Georgia again. It seems like it's always Georgia.
2-6. 2-6 to get Gus Malzahn's 2-6 against Georgia.
You don't like that. That's not.
No one should like that.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And when you're hired to be the head coach at Auburn, you're expected to beat Georgia and Alabama. LSU's probably the 3rd team there.
Yeah,
but
sometimes, at least some of the time, those 3 teams Auburn's 6-15 against in Malzahn's tenure.
And that's not what you want.
Yeah.
And, there's so much money being thrown at Gus Malzahn, and that's kind of, I think, what's making some Auburn fans pretty upset about it.
Yes, and I do understand that because he's getting paid like a top 7 coach in the country, and Auburn's on a top 7 team. But I don't necessarily think that salary equates to what level you have to be as a coach. I think, and this is, we all know that Stephen Leaf, after the 2017 season, basically got railroaded by Jimmy Sexton into this contract.
Right.
It's a bad contract. Everyone will agree that it's a bad contract, but it is the contract that Auburn and Gus Malzahn, or Auburn is stuck with, and Gus Malzahn has. So
good for Gus, by the way.
Yes, and good for Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah, he's doing his job, man.
I see. My personal feeling is I don't think Gus Malzahn cares about $49 million or $7 million a season. I think Gus Malzahn just really wants to coach football. Jimmy Sexton cares very deeply about $7 million a season, $49 million, because Jimmy Sexton gets a cut of that money. So sure. Jimmy Sexton
his job
just did what Jimmy Sexton does.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because we're in this situation, and then you look at Arkansas, who they haven't really made any moves as far as sniffing out their next head coach. That's obviously going to draw storylines, but we can talk about that more down the road or perhaps later. I want to talk about the offense.
Let's talk about the offense.
I don't really understand why it's not working, because every time I think I figured out why it's not working, something happens. Because like there are some games where I'm like, I think the play calling looks good, and it's just poor execution. Mm-hmm. You know, or Bo Nix has a bad game on the road. Like I didn't hate the play calling against Florida. I just didn't. And then other situations, LSU, maybe a little more suspect. But then there are games where the offensive line doesn't do its job.
Yeah.
And then there's games where, you know, Bo Nix doesn't look like he can hit, you know, the broadside of a barn. And I don't know if it's a combination of all that. I don't know if it's the scheme. It's what do you think it is?
I think it is everything. And I think people want to blame something, which is, I think that's just human nature. You want to be able to have escapability. This is Gus's fault. This is Bo's fault. This is the line's fault. I think it's everything put together just doesn't work. I mean, you look at the Georgia game, that first drive, they move right down the field.
Yeah.
They get into scoring.
That was one of the best drives of the season, actually, yeah. I think.
And they're 4th and 3. I thought they might go for it. They didn't. Finally kick a field goal. Anders Carlson, who until 2 weeks ago had been very reliable this season, misses a field goal.
Okay.
Killer. A couple drives later, move the ball again, get down there.
Fumble.
Yep. The second one was Boobie Whitlow, 4th and 1, getting dropped for a 13-yard loss.
You're right.
That was a Wildcat play. Georgia sniffed because Auburn, that Wildcat play. The whole thing is, you know, the ball is going to be run. Mm-hmm. You have to block it. Auburn has struggled to block things in the run game this year. Boobie, I think, ran into Marquel Harrell in the backfield because he was pushed back so far, and it was just the play was over before it started. He lost 13 yards.
In that situation, are you cool with him running backwards to try to make something happen? Because, like, you're going to lose the ball anyway.
Yeah, I didn't hate what Boobie did there.
You didn't hate it?
He was, I mean, that play, as soon as he stepped forward, that play was dead.
Okay.
Best case scenario, he was losing 3 yards.
You're okay with him sacrificing 10 more yards for the chance of something crazy happening? You're cool with it?
I'm not a coach, but I am.
I mean, my thought is
having watched Boobie Whitlow play in high school, I am.
Yeah, I was too. Because for a second, I'm like, and
there's
then
something there. Yeah.
Georgia did a great job.
I'm sure the coaching staff on the sideline be like, "Hey, don't go backwards and lose 10." But
then again, they'll also like with the defense that Malzahn has, it's like, you know,
the defense
try to do something crazy. But yeah, we're not coaches. They may have been really mad at him. I don't know.
This is the biggest difference in the game for me. Auburn, through the first 3 quarters, crossed the Georgia 40-yard line 4 times.
Okay.
Georgia crossed the Auburn 40-yard line 3 times. Georgia scored 3 touchdowns. Auburn scored 0 points.
Wow, that's a big stat.
You got to turn. You got to just turn. If you're going to cross mid, and Auburn did it against Ole Miss too. They moved the ball a ton in that game, and they just could not convert those. There's actually three of those 4 drives stalled at the 37-yard line of Georgia. It's like 37. It's like, oh, we don't go past the 37. We can't do the 29. The 29 is too far. We get to the 37, we'll just hang here.
This episode is brought to you by Electrify America. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com. Electric cars may seem a little different, but new technology always seems weird at first. Just think of podcasts. They were weird when they first came out in the early 2000s. They were actually called audio blogs, and you had to download them onto MP3 players, and now people all over the world listen to podcasts all the time. Just like podcasts, electric cars are normal now. They have longer ranges, meaning they're not just for work commutes. You can take an electric vehicle to your weekend getaway and even on longer road trips. They have faster recharging times, so you don't have to wait around all day for your car to charge. There are more models to choose from. There's sedans, SUVs, luxury vehicles, and even motorcycles, so you can find one that fits your life. With more affordable models and less routine maintenance, they may actually help you save some money. Electric cars, they're normal now. Learn more at normalnow.com.
Your team.
Greetings, 12 Locked On Seahawks podcast.
Who dat family, and welcome into this week's Locked On Saints.
Hello to all you Foxborough faithful, Locked On Patriots.
Every day.
Another Victory Monday.
It's officially Throwback Tuesday.
Crossover Wednesday episode.
Thursday Night Football.
It is Red Friday edition.
When it comes to the biggest stories.
And so the Chiefs' news story of today is, unfortunately, at this point in the season, it is continuing to be injuries.
You need to be locked on.
We've touched about it on this show and all over Twitter and all that.
And all of a sudden we have a great football team with a championship defense, a franchise quarterback, a running game that can't be stopped. This is exactly why we watch football.
Good quarterbacks are maximized in good systems. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers this season.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
in the Apple Podcast app,
Google Podcasts,
Spotify.
Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, Bo Nix threw the ball 50 times.
That is a ton of time. That is the fourth most times in a game for a quarterback in Auburn program history.
That was the fourth most.
Fourth most. He's never touching that Stan White record.
Do you?
58 times once.
58?
58 times.
Who's that against? Do you remember?
I think it was an overtime game, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you get a few extra there. But
yeah.
That's still, I mean, the fact that you're coming anywhere close to that is beyond crazy to me, especially when, we talked about Georgia playing man for the bulk of the game. They go to zone. That's when Auburn had some success quickly. But when you look at Auburn's wide receivers across the board playing man on man, there was literally one guy that could win a matchup.
Yep.
Will Hastings could not get open unless it was 3 yards downfield. There was some talk on Twitter that I saw, throw the ball to J.J. Wilson. I'm not buying it. And then Schwartz had a hard time getting any kind of separation. I mean, Seth was the only guy that could win a man-on-man matchup. At this point, Auburn's recruited well at the wide receiver position. Why is he the only guy that can get open?
It's interesting. I don't know if I fully understand it. I think...
Is it a scheme thing?
I don't know if it's all scheme. I think maybe it's a trust. And the guys who are playing are the guys that Auburn trusts the most. We've talked about it in this room. I think Matthew Hill is a guy who gets open a lot.
Okay.
Or can get open a lot. They don't play him a bunch because they don't really trust him right now because of the mistakes he's made this season, whether it's lining up wrong or, not doing the right things. Like, it's just, there's talent in that receiver room. I don't know enough about scheme or what they're doing in practice to say this guy's not good enough, that guy's not good enough. But
yeah,
you're right. Seth Williams was open every play. The slant that Seth Williams played was there.
Auburn fans should have been happy about that, right? They've been praying for the slants.
Yes.
And more Seth Williams. You got it. Seth Williams, I think he's the best wide receiver that I've seen come through Auburn. I think he is.
Yeah, he could be.
I think he does, as far as doing multiple things really, really well. Like Sammy Coates, I really loved his ability to stretch the field. Duke Williams was good at just kind of that big slant kind of role, that big slot slant thing, and kind of going up to get the contested ball. And then, Darius Slayton did a good job stretching the field. But Seth kind of does everything.
He can do all of them. And going into this year, the question was, can he do all those things? And he's answered the question like 10 times.
Well, and I was kind of worried about Auburn not using him correctly. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they've figured out how to use him. And like the whole Schwartz experiment is super inconsistent as far as usage goes.
Yeah, I think Schwartz is really good at what he does.
Running straight?
But I think he only has like 2 or 3 things, and they don't really use him.
I think it's worth him getting the shot of doing that one thing 2 or 3 times a game, no matter who you're playing against.
He can do the Slayton thing where he runs fast deep.
Okay.
I think he can do that slant thing where he just Auburn's best play against LSU was like that
short
3rd
and let
and 14.
Him run. Yeah, you're right.
Throw the ball short to Anthony Schwartz because he's not. You can't make him be Ryan Davis or Eli Stove because those guys can catch the ball and just start going on a dime. Mm-hmm. Anthony Schwartz is better when he's already going.
I love Eli Stove.
I think Eli Stove, he's the last few weeks, he's starting to look much more like 2017 Eli Stove.
I don't think he's a guy that you want running past the line of scrimmage, but I think you want him on the field. I think you want him in motion. I think you want the defense saying, okay, where is number 12 at?
He's Ryan Davis.
And it's interesting because it seems like every game this year where the games where they've used Stove, there's been a few where he just disappeared for some reason, but they use him early in the scripted plays, and then that's it. Now, they went back to him, and he got that touchdown catch from Bo, but outside of that, after the first drive, they didn't use him.
Yeah, it seems weird where they have scripted plays that are creative, and they do some stuff, and then the middle of the game is just kind of like, I don't know what's really going on here. And the end of the game, it gets good again, but it's just the second and third quarter is like, we don't.
Yeah, and it goes back to the question is like, I don't understand why it's not working.
Yeah.
And it could just be the simple thing of like, it's a lot of different things, and it hasn't meshed together this season.
The biggest problem is that Auburn's offense isn't what Gus Malzahn says Auburn's offense is or what Auburn's offense wants to be. It wants to be
the run heavy play action.
The run play action. This team can't run against good teams.
I don't think they're trying a whole lot.
They're not.
I mean, when you pass it 50 times, you're not trying to run it. I mean, they
ran, I think they had 36 carries, but only, how many of the running backs have? But I know Bo had the most carries.
Bo had 13.
Yeah.
So, 23. But Schwartz was 1. And then Eli Stove was 1.
How many? So DJ and Boobie.
So DJ had 8. Boobie had 11. Shivers had 1.
You're not trying that hard. And I think there was one stretch where like 3 or 4 runs in a row, Boobie looked good.
Yes.
And that was the drive where he got stuffed on 4th and 1 for minus 13 yards, and they kind of just like went away from him after that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I will readily admit that I don't know how to analyze offensive line play because I'm not an offensive lineman. My plan this week is to talk to offensive linemen and see, hey, what does this group look like? But
something coming up in the Montgomery Advertiser on that?
I believe so. Yes.
Wow. All right, let's plug it, baby.
Yeah.
Let's plug it.
Yeah,
but I mean, there are guys that are getting it done. I mean, Markel Harrell, like from the analytics.
Yeah.
The analytics love Harrell.
Yeah.
And then like Prince Tega's got a lot of respect. Jack Driscoll seems to be fine to me. It's that center and other guard spot. Is that enough to make it fall apart? It seems like it is.
The offensive line has to be all 5 on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Brown has played much better than Caleb Kim was.
I agree.
But it just seems like a lot of plays, like 4th and 1, if you're a good offensive line, which Auburn was earlier in Gus' tenure, like 2013, 2014, you say, hey, we need 1 yard. We're going to get 1 yard. We're doing it. I don't care what the defense does. We're going to get 1 yard. You're going to like it. Now it's like, man, I don't know if this offense can run for 1 yard on 4th and 1. I don't know. And you look at that play to Whitlow. I mean, Georgia knew it was coming and just blew it up immediately.
Yeah. I like the play call at the end of the game on the 4th and short where they got Joyner out in the flat and they just missed the throw. But it's like,
that play might have been a touchdown. People
giving Malzahn, a tough time. And it's like, well, he's scheming these guys open.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why you can't blame one person.
Yeah.
You can blame Gus for a lot of stuff. He's the head coach.
Sure.
But that play, he dialed up a good play. Harold Joyner is wide open. It was blocked. That play's gained 15 yards, and Bo Nix missed him. You can blame Bo Nix for that, but you can't say Auburn lost because of Bo Nix because Auburn loses that game 21-0 without Bo Nix because he led 2 successful touchdown drives in the 4th quarter, and he scored both touchdowns. So you can't blame one person. You got to blame it's the entire offense deserves blame.
Do you think the play calling changes at all on the 3rd and shorts and the 4th and shorts in this game if Gatewood is still on the roster?
I don't know because they weren't using him in those.
That's true.
And
I mean, I think that seems like that was kind of what put him over the edge in Florida because he thought he was going out there.
Yeah, and when he ran those plays, I don't want to say anything poor about Joey Gatewood because in this house we respect athletes' decisions all the time. But when he wasn't on those short yardage plays, it's the same thing as the Whitlow Wildcat play. Defenses knew exactly what he was in the game for, and a lot of times they stopped it. Most of his rushing yards were late against Arkansas.
It's not like he was a 100%. That's true.
Yeah. Against Power 5 teams, he was averaging like 1.6 yards per carry. So it wasn't like that play was an automatic gimme.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point. What do you think? I mean, I think this is a total bummer for Auburn in regards to Boobie lining up in the Boobie cat, if you will, and then it looks like they were going to do a jump pass, and then they blew it dead.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
That's a total bummer.
And they did score a touchdown after that, but I wanted to see another Boobie pass. I think he did one of those last year, and it worked.
Yeah, because, I mean, Carry-On did that against Georgia 2 years ago, and, maybe that gets the crowd more into it, but they were pretty into it after that touchdown anyway.
That stadium was the best I'd seen it all season after that second touchdown.
Probably the best since the Iron Bowl in 2017.
You're probably right, yeah.
I mean, just because there weren't a whole lot of big home games last year. But, all right, so where does Auburn go from here, Josh? I mean, I think Auburn's going – obviously they'll beat Samford.
Yes.
I think they're in a good spot against Alabama just due to, all right, you're playing a backup quarterback now with Tua Tagovailoa being out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're not going to – what's the mentality of that Alabama team?
I don't know.
Alabama's still a good team, but to see your quarterback, your leader, your best player go down like that, I don't know.
Maybe something similar to like what Auburn basketball did for Chuma, last postseason. Do it for are they going to try to do it for Tua kind of thing? And Saban's good at getting the most out of his players. I think this injury puts more pressure on Gus Malzahn than it did before. Because I think, the folks that are very anti-Gus Malzahn, there's a lot of them within the Auburn fan base right now. I think you're going into this Iron Bowl with a win-win. Either you get what you want and Gus Malzahn loses to a backup quarterback in Alabama, because, I mean, let's face it, when you're hired at Auburn, you're expected to beat Alabama. Like, that's why you're hired.
Not expected, asked. I think I have a problem with the word expect.
Okay.
I just don't
I'm fine with that.
Because someone, I got into it last week, someone said Auburn should expect to make the playoff every year. I'm like, Auburn has literally never made the playoff. Expect means to believe, like, this is going to happen beyond all doubt. Auburn, you can't expect something that's never happened before.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
All right.
I'm cool with that. But, I mean, I do think it's fair. The reason he got this money in the extension is because
you want to beat your biggest rivals. Yeah. And he happened to come into the time where Auburn's biggest rival is having, like, the greatest run of success maybe in program history, maybe in college football history,
I think you're right.
Does not help.
It makes everything. If that's not happening, I think the view on Malzahn is totally different.
If he's 9-16 against those three teams, or 9-15, if he was not 9-15, 6-15,
6-15,
if he's 9-12, still losing record, totally different view.
You're right.
We're looking at this thing. Three wins, totally different view.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So you look at it though, and so. Or, you know, I think if he loses to a backup quarterback at Alabama, I think it puts a lot of pressure on him. Or
a lot of pressure on the university, really.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you can't beat him then, when are you going to beat him?
Yeah.
And then the other side of it is, all right, you beat Alabama. And I think every Auburn fan, even if you're mad at Gus or not, if you beat Alabama, you should be happy.
It's 9-3 season. A 9-3 regular season,
and you beat Alabama.
And a chance to win 10 games, which doesn't happen at Auburn a lot. People think it does. It doesn't.
Where would that put them as far as bowl projection in your mind if they go 9-3?
The things I keep seeing most are like Citrus, Outback, kind of that
level.
But
those are with the assumption that they're going to lose to Alabama, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that's the level they're trending toward. I think that would be the level of bowl. Maybe Tax Slayer at the lowest, but I
Where's
think
the Tax Slayer at?
That's Jacksonville. I think they're going. That'd
be fun.
I think Auburn's going to Florida. I think Auburn's going to Florida.
I hope so. That would be nice.
And look, if you're not going to make the playoff, which Auburn's not going to make the playoff,
go to a fun city is all I'm asking.
Or just in general, the state of Florida has a lot of issues, but the state of Florida in December and January is just beautiful. Yeah. It's like 65 degrees and sunny. Like it's a good place to spend New Year's, Christmas, whatever. So yeah.
The weekend a few years ago, were you covering them? You weren't covering them in 14, were you?
No, I was not here for.
Well, they went to the Outback Bowl in Tampa, and that was such a fun week. The group I went down, I was still in school, and we had a blast. I wouldn't mind doing that again.
I'm sure the weather was flawless.
It was awesome.
Yes,
Florida and it even rained one day, but you didn't even care.
Yeah,
you didn't even care, man. So. I don't want to age this podcast too much because Auburn basketball, they play Colgate tonight. I don't really want to preview that game or anything, but solid start. I mean, Isaac Okoro is all he was hyped up to be. He seems to be getting a little bit better every single game.
Isaac Okoro led Auburn in scoring through 3 games, and I thought Isaac was going to be good this season. I never thought Isaac Okoro would lead the team in scoring.
And then,
Samir leads now because Samir
he busted off for 30, right?
Up on Friday night.
Yeah, that was a fun game. They needed that, and
yeah, they did.
That's despite playing not really big names, but those were decent teams that they played.
Yeah, and the thing that Bruce Pearl points out, and this is true, these are not high-powered non-conference teams. They're not playing a Duke or
They're in the tournament though.
Yeah, those are teams that are picked top 3 in their conference that returned a lot of players who know how to win games, and that's what Bruce Pearl's biggest thing is. Auburn returns 5 guys, but it's got a lot of young guys. But these weren't the guys that were on the floor last year. Like Anthony was on the floor last year, Samir was on the floor last year when they were closing out games.
But they're still in different roles. I mean, Samir was not the starting 2.
Exactly.
He was not Bryce Brown. Yeah. And then Anthony was starting, and he was not, the 6th man.
Yeah, so basically you have to learn how to win in those situations. Auburn, I mean, you don't want to see Auburn blow a 14-point lead on the road at South Alabama, but to blow that lead and be able to win, that's a lesson that helps this team going forward. They're going to benefit from that going forward.
I expect Colgate, tonight's matchup, would be similar to Friday's matchup as far as running them out. Am I off on that?
Bruce Pearl believes Colgate's good. I believe they're picked to win the Patriot League.
Okay.
They're big inside. They're not. They're going to start at 6'9" and 6'10" on the front line.
Well, that's good experience right there.
I think they're probably a South Alabama-esque team on that level. It will be at Auburn Arena, and it will not be as hostile or just loud in general as Mobile was.
Yeah, it sounds like Mobile was pretty rowdy.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of Auburn fans, so it was like kind of even rowdy.
Did you go to that?
I did not go to that.
Did you have to get ESPN Plus?
I had to pay for ESPN Plus.
So you have ESPN Plus now.
I canceled it literally 1 second after I paid for it. I have a month.
Oh, you didn't do the free trial thing? I know a lot of Auburn fans did the free trial thing.
I couldn't find a free trial. I had to pay $4.99.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That game was bad. I also that game cost me my Fire Stick too. So that whole game was a mess.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, I just didn't like it.
Sorry, I brought it up.
No, it's okay. The wound's fresh, but it's fine.
Well, thank you for helping me break down whatever we watched Saturday. I mean, that was a shame, and you know, in all of this, and this is not the first time, but throughout this season, the defense really should be the story of how incredible they've been, and everybody just wants to talk about the offense, myself included.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's a shame.
Yeah, and credit that defense. Kevin Steele works voodoo magic with his culture, because you talk to any defensive player, and just human nature says they're going to blame the offense. Say, we did our part in the offense. One, not a single person in there does that. And two, they don't blame the offense. They blame themselves.
Yeah.
Like Javaris Davis said, if they don't score 21 points, we win. It's like,
he's not wrong.
That's crazy. It's a crazy level of expectations. But like Derek Brown, who is an unbelievable football player, and I'm going to miss watching him next year.
I think this was his best game of the season.
He was incredible on Saturday. People can't block him. They can hold him. They can't block him.
He's a top 3 draft pick.
Yeah. But he basically, his mentality is if Auburn allows points, the defense has failed. And that's insane, but also like you got to respect the atmosphere, the culture that they put together on defense.
You mentioned Javaris Davis, one of his best games.
Everywhere.
Like, why did you throw? And then another guy, I don't think his name was mentioned once during the broadcast. Igbenogany.
That's the thing. You don't mention his name because people don't throw it.
They don't throw it to him.
Yeah,
he's incredible. Dude.
And that's my biggest argument. If you're a number one cornerback and you can go the entire game and no one says your name or remembers that you played in it, you did your part.
Yeah,
he did his part. He's really good. There's a risk Auburn doesn't have him next year because he's that good.
I think the NFL will want him very bad.
Yes,
I mean the fact that this is his second year playing that, he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Kid's an athlete.
What's going on in the Montgomery Advertiser this week?
I wrote a story this morning, Monday morning, about 5 questions for Auburn football going into these last 2 weeks.
All right.
So there's a lot of things to question. Is there a decision to make about Gus Malzahn's future? What is success at Auburn? Is 9-3 good or not good enough? I don't know. I can't answer the question anymore.
Sure. It seems to change, actually. The answer, really I think, seems to change no matter who you ask.
Yeah. We're going to talk. I'm going to have a story coming on Auburn's new basketball signing class. 3 guys, Sharif Cooper, Justin Powell, and Chris Moore.
His hashtag when he committed, he posted a graphic on his personal. Mm-hmm. It was hashtag flex more.
You know,
if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what does.
I don't know either. Yeah, Bruce Pearl is doing the thing at Auburn.
I mean, it's going to be if Okoro stays, if he's like not quite good enough to be the one and done.
That'll be an interesting one.
I mean, they've got a shot with him and Cooper.
Yeah, though I think I'm not going to. We have no idea what Isaac Okoro is going to do, but the first 3 games,
I think he's gone.
If you're looking at like, he went from like being a fringe first round guy in mock drafts, like, oh yeah, he's the 14th best player in the draft. It's like, oh, okay, we're jumping him. Like I saw a mock draft that in top 10. Like
Okoro?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm this weird. I want Auburn fans to care about the NBA. Mm-hmm. Like I really want that.
The NBA is great.
It's so great.
Yes.
It's so great. And, I think once Truma starts playing for the Magic, I'm hoping that kind of comes around. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And, I mean, Cooper's going to be in there in a few years. Okoro's going to be in there maybe next year. So.
And the fact that Auburn University is getting players that could jump to the NBA after one season. Imagine if I told you 10 years ago that, Auburn would sign a one and done, you'd be like, In what did they change the football rules? Like, what do you mean they signed a one and done?
Golly.
No, basketball, man.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn fans are like, well, maybe he won't be good enough to go to the NBA.
What a time to be alive.
Where are you on Twitter, bud?
At Josh Vitale, JoshVitale.
Thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Follow me on Twitter at ZBlackerby. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Auburn. This has been another edition of the Locked On Auburn podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.